Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. Wow, do we have a big show for you today. News is breaking all over the world. Last night we were trying to put AM Update to bed late. We opened it up after this horrific murder of Rob Reiner. The early reports were that 2 bodies had been found. We had that in the script. Then it came out, indeed, it was Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. Then we reopened the script to put that in. Then it came out that they'd been stabbed. Reopened the script to put that in. Then it came out that they'd been stabbed by their son, according to People magazine. Then we put that in. Then the LAPD held a useless fucking press conference. Useless. And we had to open up the script again just to point out that they were denying the report about the son. And while all this was happening, the main story in our AM update was completely reversed. We were talking about the person of interest who was in custody over the Brown mass shooting that happened over the weekend. And the idiots over in Providence talking about that at the presser announced that that guy was not a person of interest. The guy they had in custody for a day was not a person of interest after all. Oh, but there's absolutely no reason to be concerned. There's a murderer roaming the community who's shot a dozen people, but you're good. Just fucking fall on your sword at that point. Just come out and say, we got it wrong. We're doing our best. It's somewhat chaotic. Here's what we're going to do to keep you safe. All students should go home immediately, right? Like, there actually is cause to shelter in place. We don't know whether this person has been on a bus or a plane leaving the area or whether he means to cause additional carnage. What's wrong with people? He was the Providence mayor. He was utterly unimpressive, as were you, Deputy LAPD Commissioner. Don't have a presser just to come out and say, flippantly, by the way, so flip this guy was. Nope, no information. Nope, we're not going to tell you who it is. Even though the family of Rob Reiner is literally at that moment, and his wife, Michelle Reiner, releasing a statement saying we're devastated to announce that they're both dead. And the deputy police commissioner, police chief, no, not going to tell you. You're going to have to wait for the coroner to come out. Not confirming anything. Nope. Doesn't mean anything. Not going to tell you how they died. Not going to tell you who found them. Not going to tell you whether anybody's in custody. Meanwhile, I was watching Fox at the time, and there was a former FBI agent on who lives in LA and lives in this neighborhood and had her own sources there. And she was saying they've got somebody in custody. I mean, they knew. And look, law enforcement's got to do better. This is all part of the breakdown that we have in the relationship and the trust with these authorities. I really actually think we can get past person of interest turned out not to be the person. I think we can get past it, but it has to require utter, blatant transparency and honesty. But I'm not going to lie. It's not good. It's not good that our friend Kash Patel tweeted out they have a person of interest in custody and kind of patting themselves on the back when it wasn't the guy. None of this is good. I'm not trying to argue otherwise. But I do think if you're going to get past those issues, just total transparency is required. Total. In any event, okay, we'll get to all this. Rob Reiner is dead. Such an accomplished man. I don't even think of his politics when I think of Rob Reiner. You get there eventually. But I think of his immense talent as an American icon in the movie industry. Who that's of a certain age doesn't remember him as Meathead on Archie Bunker? He was young, Michael Stivic. He married Gloria. He drove Archie crazy with his liberal politics, which would wind up being kind of funny, too, just because it was true to life for Rob Reiner. The arguments those two would have politically would be a harbinger of things to come in our country. And frankly, of the rest of Rob Reiner's life in that lane, arguing with people who disagreed with him. He was very passionate about politics. But what did he do? He directed some of the best films in American cinema, from Stand By Me, which, by the way, there's a report out today that when Stephen King, because it was based on a short story by Stephen King, when Stephen King saw Stand By Me, he was motionless. He was immobile in the screening room because he had never seen one of his films brought so powerfully and effectively to life as Stand By Me. And you don't even think about Stand By Me anymore because it was so many years ago. Jerry O'Connell, who played like the little chubby kid, who was more like kind of geeky. Well, they were all a little geeky, but in that film, sent out a beautiful tweet about how great Rob Reiner was to him on the set. I mean, Rob was like a father to him at that point. Jerry's my age, And Rob, as of last night when he died, was 78. His wife, Michelle, 68, found dead yesterday in their home in Los Angeles. TMZ reporting that their throats had been slit. We're going to get into the details with Emily Jashinsky in 1 second. For now, the headline is that their 32-year-old son, 32, Nick, is in custody. Bail set at $4 million. It's not enough. I got to be honest. I don't know that he's got any of his own money, but obviously the family had a lot of money, and I don't know that he can access it. I don't know what his assets are, but that number better be so high that he cannot access it. Over in Australia, you've heard a father and son duo responsible for an anti-Semitic mass shooting Sunday, targeting a Hanukkah event on Sydney's Bondi Beach. 15 are dead, over 40 reported wounded. We're seeing videos that are too graphic to show, and we're actually still working to confirm that they are from Bondi Beach. But if they pan out, it's like an apocalyptic scene of just dead body after dead body on a beach. A beach is like, you associate it with joy and vacation and family and sand castles. I mean, we're a long way from Omaha Beach. It's not still the first memory that comes to mind. And just to see, I mean, because of course, Australia, it's summer there. They're all taking their summer vacations. And just to see the carnage, even in the videos that have been verified, is shocking. And to see the number of minutes that these two shooters were taking aim at civilians like target practice without police or a good guy with a gun taking a shot at them. It's painful. It's excruciating because there are videos on X showing it, especially what I believe is the dad. The reports are the dad was on the top of the bridge. The son was underneath the bridge shooting. And you could see the dad. It looks like he's just got free-for-all on all these people down below who, I mean, I don't know. I want to know more, because how could the shooting have gone on for that long? How could the murders have gone on from that long when people were in an open area of a beach? They were not, trapped, as far as I know, but he kept finding them. And now 15 dead, over 40 reported wounded. We're starting to learn more, too, about the terror ties of the alleged shooters. Okay, first, though, this is just a crazy news day. I was saying to Doug that the AM update felt like an episode of Dateline. There was so much death and destruction in it, and all for like different and equally disturbing reasons. There is a manhunt underway right now in Rhode Island, and frankly, it has to be beyond Rhode Island, because nobody knows where the killer is. After a gunman killed 2 and wounded 9 while students were in a final exam review at Brown University Saturday afternoon. Police on Sunday detaining, began on Saturday into Sunday, a 24-year-old person of interest. That was Kash Patel's term in his tweet. But as we told you in this morning's AM update, authorities announced in a hastily arranged press conference late last night, it was after 11, that he was to be released because, quote, evidence now points in a different direction. They were making clear it's not him. They were making clear they had the wrong guy. Officials are now asking anyone who has video of the shooting or the shooter to hand it over, and saying that they are still relying on the single, we're showing it now, video previously released of the suspected gunman. For the listening audience, it's a man, medium-sized build, all dark clothing, turning a corner on what appears to be a little campus block with a hat on, walking fairly briskly, not suspiciously briskly, and then heading out of screen. There's really nothing about him of note other than I'd say he's probably got a little bit more weight, like heft to his body than your average, like slender 19-year-old. And so I have no idea how old he is. I'm just saying that's the average age of like your college student. And I don't know whether he is a college student. Nobody does. Now, despite the fact that a mass murderer is still on the loose, no additional shelter-in-place order has been issued, nor are the Providence authorities particularly bothered by the fact that they lifted the shelter-in-place order while the shooter was clearly still a threat because they did not get the right person of interest in custody. Here's the Democrat mayor, Brett Smiley, last night.
We want to inform the community that that individual will shortly be released from Providence Police. We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community. Ever since the initial call, now a day and a half ago,
you think?
We have not received any credible or specific threats to the Providence community. And so the status of safety in our community remains unchanged. And we believe that you remain safe in our community.
Okay. He was actually defending himself last night. A reporter asked him, what? Like, the shelter in place was lifted. That's not good. You didn't actually have the guy. And he was like, well, it was the proper thing to do. And I know that because there have been no additional shootings since Saturday. Oh, okay. Great. Good to know. That's like when John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo, the DC snipers, were still on the loose. No, I know you're safe because there have been no additional shootings since the one on Saturday at the Home Depot. Okay, tell that to the dozens of people who were yet to be shot as they went on a reign of terror. What kind of a boneheaded statement is that? To me, that is a politician who's worried about one thing: his ass, his lily white ass, which none of us cares about. No one. Be honest. Just own it. Just say it. In retrospect, that it was too soon. And if I were that mayor, frankly, I'd be like, we fucked up. We trusted the FBI. That's what I'd be saying. I mean, that's how these things typically unfold. And the FBI is going to say whatever it's going to say. But why is he pretending it was all fine and good? Look, part of my anger is I'm just mad at the news cycle. I'm mad that these kids are dead trying to study for their final exams. This sweet young vice president of the college Republicans, Emma, who had everything going for her, reportedly shot in the classroom. Well, not reportedly, she was shot dead in the classroom. She's one of the two who were killed. And there are questions about whether she was a target. There's zero evidence so far that this is politically motivated, other than Ella Cook is her name, I'm sorry, other than the fact that she was vice president of the college Republicans, but zero evidence to show that the shooter knew that. The other young man who was killed, I believe, was an immigrant from Uzbekistan. And we've seen pictures of him, for what it's worth. He's brown skinned, like that's not, it doesn't line up. Nothing lines up, to a political motivation right now. Just wait and see. All of that will come out. I believe eventually they'll get the person and we'll see. But my point is simply, I'm being harsh on the authorities because I'm pissed off about the shooters. And this guy's still at large. Amazingly, he's still at large. And look, we're in the Northeast. We're in New England. I don't know where this guy is, and clearly neither do the authorities. Here to react to all of it and more is Emily Jashinsky. She's host of After Party with Emily Jashinsky on the MK Media Podcast Network, which, by the way, I just got the numbers because they update me since it is the MK Media Podcast, and she's crushing it. Emily's doing so well. Her podcast only goes twice a week, but people are tuning in record numbers on the YouTube when it airs live at 10 p.m. You can check it out. And also as a podcast. So please check out what everybody's loving and tune in yourself. She's also now the host of the MK Wrap-Up Show that airs after this show does on Sirius XM channel 111. Okay, that starts at 2 p.m. Eastern right after our show finishes. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. The holidays are always full of surprises. Here's one. When it comes to religious freedom, you might be surprised to learn which states rank low on the Religious Liberty in the States Index. The First Liberty Institute, the nation's leading law firm protecting religious freedom, just released this index, and it ranks all 50 states on how well they protect your right to live out your faith. The results? Full of surprises. If you have not heard of First Liberty, they're different. They've been on the front lines defending religious freedom for nearly 30 years. When your faith comes under attack, they are first in the fight. And they do it without ever sending their clients a bill. That's right, they do not charge a dime. They have a win rate of over 90% on their cases, including a 9-0 record at the U.S. Supreme Court. This Religious Liberty in the States Index is an independent, peer-reviewed study that gives you the real picture of religious liberty across America. Want to see where your state ranks or others do? Get your free copy today at firstliberty.org/Megyn. That's firstliberty.org/MEGYN. Emily, welcome back. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Megyn.
What a day. So I'm sorry, but Keystone Cops comes to mind when you look at what happened at Brown University over the past 36 hours. They apparently, reportedly, they actually first said that there was somebody, a person of interest or being detained or examined who was some Asian guy who had nothing to do with it. Then there was this report on Cash's X feed saying, thanks to that the local authorities had given him a tip about somebody staying in a hotel, that they ran it through some sort of like cellular data analysis unit that they have at the FBI. And that led them to this guy whose name we're not going to be reporting because he's innocent, according to the Providence locals. They didn't use that word, but they made clear they've moved past this guy now, moved on from him. And his name was all over the internet. No, the authorities didn't say it, but it was everywhere. It didn't take long. So clearly they were leaking it. First, the wrong picture was being circulated by the media all over X of the guy who was the person of interest. Then they took that guy's picture down, and the proper picture went up with the person of interest who was being questioned by authorities, but he was not, as it turns out, the guy at all. So now 2 guys have been besmirched as potential mass shooters wrongly. Only one of which I guess we can blame on the FBI and the local authorities. We'll hear what the FBI has to say about that. The FBI also had a big win. It stopped a terror attack in California, which we can talk about in a minute. But look, this one's not great. And then you have the local mayor trying to tell people, you're fine. You're fine. This is not a pick yourself up, dust yourself off. You're tough. You can do it, sweetheart. Get right back out. What the fuck? A serial killer is on the loose after shooting a dozen people. The response is not appropriate.
And there's sort of echoes of what Luigi Mangione did last year, where you have someone coming up, shooting folks and then walking away. Presumably this campus is blanketed with CCTV. And so that makes it, I think, Megyn, even more unbelievable that the FBI and local authorities projected such confidence in their detainment of a suspect. You can detain a suspect and not announce it. You can detain a suspect and announce it in a different way. The way I interpreted the announcements were that they felt pretty good about it. And so I would be furious in Providence, if my child were at Brown, if I lived in the area, I would just be beside myself with anger, because I think they projected way, way, way too much security into the area. And on top of that, I mean, again, this is a campus. There's CCTV absolutely everywhere. So I don't understand how you feel good. I mean,
Well, not on this building.
Right.
That's what they're saying, that this was an old building and it didn't have cameras.
And I would imagine either way, going in and out of that area, that would be my understanding of a campus, is that even if the building doesn't have it, you should be able to figure out whether a person of interest is a serious person of interest, the type that you might announce to the public, or keep it, still under wraps to some extent, because you should be able to connect the dots 2 and 2, all of that type of stuff. It seems like they jumped the gun seriously. And I mean, on top of this, I think, unfortunately, there's an effort to get Kash Patel for political reasons inside of the FBI right now. I do think, unfortunately, this is also going to raise political questions for Kash Patel, because it looks like another rush. I don't know if that's the case yet, but it does really look like that.
Well, people are pointing out that after Charlie was killed, they said that they had a person of interest in custody. It was that old guy who was very sussy, but he wasn't connected to the shooting, as far as we know. And so they had announced that, and people were kind of like, that guy? Like, the guy who was like, I have the right to remain silent. I have the right to remain silent. It was very strange that, like, you kind of saw him as a potential accomplice maybe at that moment, but it didn't track as the actual shooter. And then they later kind of had to say, okay, didn't get that right. And then, Kash was saying, look, we're trying to be very transparent. It's not great to have another one of those. And now how much time has been lost in tracking the real killer, because they were very focused on this guy. And listen, I get it. If this guy was sitting in the hotel room with what appeared to be the 2 same guns that the shooting was committed with, which is what the early reports were, including one with a laser sight on it, which they described as unique, but that surprises me because I haven't spent a ton of time at the shooting range, but I've spent a fair amount of time there, and that doesn't seem that unique to me. But in any event, they must have had enough evidence from that cell tower triangulation team that they thought this guy was it. I mean, not for nothing, but that's the same team that they used to get the name of the January 6th pipe bomber, which I don't know if that should shore up their attempts in this case or should undermine faith in the January 6th case, but it is the same unit.
Well, and again, they actually cleared him within, I'm spitballing here, but it was like roughly 12-ish hours. So it seems as though it didn't take a lot of effort to figure out this was not the guy. And it would have been...
The guy was saying, I've been in this hotel room the whole time.
Right.
I have not left this hotel room.
And if that's the case, I mean, that's an easy alibi to check because hotels also have CCTV. You can check people's smartphones now, depending on access and all of that. So
you can check the key card records.
Exactly. So it seems like this would have been pretty easy to check out, dismiss. And in fact, we know it was because he was cleared pretty quickly. And so in that case, it looks like rushing to be... I understand the need to be transparent. I actually can see this on Kash Patel's feed. He tries to walk people through the steps of investigations in ways I don't think we've seen the FBI do in real time before. But you have to be so careful about that because there is right now there is actually a killer on the loose. People should not feel comfortable. Kids should be off of campus, and it may have potentially created a more dangerous situation. I mean, clearly it created a more dangerous situation.
I mean, Emily, you are closer to being in college than to where I am, which is having a kid about to go off to college. But either way, can you imagine being either a Brown student or the parent of a Brown student right now and hearing that presser last night after you were told that they had a person of interest in custody, that they had lifted the shelter in place, and you've been walking around, you'd been thinking they had, and only to find out it's fine. And then that ridiculous mayor doubled down on his inanity at a press conference just before we came to air, like an hour before. Watch this.
Explain this notion that appears to be in conflict. There's a killer on the loose and a manhunt underway. So how can that be the case when you say why are you confident there is no threat to public safety?
The call came in for the shooting at 4:05 p.m. on Saturday. It's Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, and there has not been a single credible or specific threat that we've received since that time. And so
you're an idiot.
Just because of those facts, that's why we believe it is safe and appropriate for residents in Providence to be sending their kids to school today and to be out in the community. There has been no follow-up threat.
That's outrageous. I would never send my kid to school if we lived in Providence today. Not a chance. Moreover, we'd have every door and window locked. There's a killer on the loose who's killing young kids, young people, 19, 20, and has absolutely no concern for human life. Why? This is their mayor. Mm-hmm. This is politics, Emily.
Well, yeah, I saw the exact same thing you did in that, which was the clear, cynical political motivation to try to pretend that a mess didn't happen rather than cleaning it up. And actually, the politics of that are horrible because it's going to be seared into everybody's memory now. This is the guy who didn't say the buck stops with me. This was a mistake. It's the guy who tried to pretend like everything was fine. And Megyn, I think about the Boston bombing manhunt. Obviously not apples to apples here, but that was a very dangerous situation when you have people who are desperate to evade justice and capture. They end up, in some cases, doing very dangerous, desperate things. So let alone another reason why you should be sheltering in place if you're in Providence, Rhode Island right now, because who knows if someone's trying to, for example, hide under a boat and gets into a shootout with law enforcement. These things are all well within the realm of possibility.
Like with the Boston Marathon bomber.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes. Well, and honestly, it's like, who knows if this person has any means? They had means enough to buy a gun. They were smart enough to get on this campus and to go right to this. I mean, because there are no Saturday classes typically. That's not really a day of the week where the kids are going to classes. But he knew that there was this exam review course happening inside this one building and inside this one classroom. And he happened to choose the one building that doesn't have any cameras. So all of that suggests he's no dummy. He figured a few things out, and he's gotten away with it so far. Who the hell knows where he is, Emily? Who the hell knows where he is? So if he had means, if he had a car, if he could get on a bus, we have no idea what he looks like. There's no profile whatsoever. So there's no, picture of him at the Greyhound or the Amtrak or American and Delta and United. No idea. Could be out of the country by now. Could easily be out of the country by now if he had planned ahead, or could be on the way to another school, to another campus. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to unnecessarily scare people, but the only proper tone right now is deadly serious, cautionary, warning, and you don't want to create a panic, but you also don't want to ignore the threat, which is what that mayor is doing. I don't know. Let's move on, because we could spend all day bashing him. I do want to show this. It's the terrified Brown students cowering in a university library as they could hear shots outside. Now, this winds up being the police, but these poor students don't know that at this point.
Hands, hands, hands! Stand up, hands! Hands! Providence police!
Everybody's hands! Hands, 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 hands! Hands, hands, hands! Everybody get your hands! Hands, hands, hands! Hands, hands! Just keep your hands up for us. Obviously, there's something going on. We're here to help you. Just listen to what we have to say, okay? All right, breathe. Anybody hurt? No? All right, just listen to our commands. We will get you out of here safely. Is this it? Is this the group?
Guys, if you have your bags, your phones, go grab it now. Quickly.
Go, quick, go.
In orderly, fast. Let's go.
All the kids have their hands up.
Good job.
They're all complying, of course. These poor kids.
Grab your stuff. Hurry up.
That is just heartbreaking. It's like we mock Brown University a lot because it's so far left. It's so progressive. But it's like, these poor kids, you have to be very smart to get into Brown University. It is Ivy or very connected. But you do, in general, you have to be an extraordinary student, truly, to get into there. And those kids just are trying to learn. Left, right, who gives a shit? They're just trying to learn, trying to get an education, trying to make it ahead in this world just like everyone else. Try to get a first good job, try to get a home, try to make it in an economy that is really not set up for success for young people. And this is the shit they have to deal with. For the listening audience, they were hiding behind... They were in the library, and you picture the stacks of books that only go up to like maybe 5 or 6 feet tall, and they're open at each end. So it's not like, it doesn't really block you from an active shooter. He would just have to turn the corner of the little bookcase, and they're all cowering down there, hearing shots go on, shots. And then you finally hear the police, and I'm sure there was a huge sigh of relief as they lifted their arms and complied. But you can't help but think of the terror they must have been in.
Relief, and also probably for some of them still fear, because what if someone is pretending to be the police, also not outside of the realm of possibility in a situation like that. And I'm 32. I was in elementary school when Columbine happened, and I think people, especially younger than me, but everyone who is like 30 and under, just you ended up having to do those drills in school since you're like 5 years old, active shooter drills, and this is every student's worst nightmare. These kids were just trying to get through finals, and then the scene that they have seen play out on their smartphones from different cases, Parkland, over and over the years as they've been in school, it visits them like a couple of weeks before Christmas, and it's happening to them in real life. So even though that was the police and they were hearing shots from the police, those kids are now traumatized. That will stay with a lot of them for a long, long time. That is literally the worst nightmare.
And there was at least one, possibly two students who had been at Parkland at that shooting in Florida as high schoolers, or would have had to be middle schoolers now. I'm trying to do my math. That happened in 2018, and now so it's 7 years ago. So they must have been more junior, or maybe they took gap years, and then because at least one was saying that they'd been at the high school when the shooting had taken place, and now again. I don't even know how you'd handle going in public after that, because we're all banking on it being a better chance of getting struck by lightning than finding yourself in one of these shooting situations. But they're happening so frequently that's starting to feel less comforting. And I use that term comfort, with a huge grain of salt. We're seeing our fellow Americans get shot down in the prime of their lives. No one wants this. No one fucking wants this. I mean, most people don't want this. I don't know what the answer is. I was thinking for these students, in this case, do we have to get to the point when they go to school, whatever school it is, college on down, the doors lock. The class starts at 9. You have a 5-minute grace period, say, and then that door locks. That's it. It will not be reopened. If you don't get there on time, you miss the class that day. It's locked. So, I mean, that would be another layer. That's the one thing I've learned in dealing with lots of security over the course of my, professional life, and plenty recently. Layers between you and potential danger is what it's all about. You just to give law enforcement the time to get to you. And on these college campuses, there aren't enough.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think I've been thinking a lot about this lately because, in the Charlie case, we've been rightfully so focused on Charlie and his family. And then I think, there were thousands of kids that day who had a bullet whiz past them and they saw the carnage and the panic. And that's thousands of kids who just at that one school are now dealing with this panic and probably PTSD in a lot of their cases. And you think about Brown, you get an active shooter alert on your phone, which I assume went out in the case of Brown. It happens at schools. There was a mistaken one that was sent out when I was in college. It is absolutely terrifying. I mean, again, like this is like nightmare fuel. It is everybody's worst case scenario when you're a teenager and you're in college. And so to get that in and of itself is terrifying. And just thinking a little bit also about the Australia story you introduced, Megyn. In that case, I know we're going to talk about it, but they have really strict gun laws in Australia. Some of these shootings happen in places where there are really strict gun laws. College campuses are certainly those types of places. There's just evil. I mean, there's just unimaginable evil. And this period of high-tech modernity seems to be bringing out more and more of it in more and more dangerous ways. And to some extent, there's nothing you'll ever be able to do to protect yourself from the evil that's in the world.
There are two things we can do. There are at least two things we can do. And I don't know how I feel about having like all kids armed on college campuses.
Right.
That seems like, I don't know, extreme to me. But people are getting murdered on college campuses at an alarming rate. They are. Mm-hmm. The attempted murders and murders happening at the hands. This is when these young men are having their psychotic breaks. Mm-hmm. And it does tend to happen. Ask any shrink between basically 18 and 26. And I haven't looked it up. I'll bet you the endowment for Brown University is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. For sure, it's going to be in the tens of millions. Is it really so hard for them to beef up their security? Is it so hard for them to have at Brown University, which actually isn't even that huge? I mean, it's very exclusive, so it's not that huge. To have a guard at every door, an armed guard at every building, an armed guard at every building. Is it so hard, including on Saturday? If the students are there, you're there with your loaded gun. And that way, at least, when you hear shots fired, you can minimize the carnage. Or as a deterrent. It serves as a deterrent. Can't they spend some of their damn millions on that? That's one thing, and I've said it after every school shooting for a long time since I figured out it was necessary. We need an institution, a lockup for people who are potential school shooters, and their family and friends know who they are in most of the cases. You're going to tell me that guy who shot up this Ascension school in Minneapolis was not known by his family to be a seriously dangerous young man?
Uvalde, Parkland.
It has to be a place.
It happens all the time.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The Sandy Hook. Mm-hmm. It has to be a place to which a loving mother would voluntarily commit her son. It's always a son. Stop. It is. One in New Orleans was, Nashville was a woman. But they can go too. I'm not trying to defend women, but I'm just saying, let's be honest about what the profile of these shooters is. So that it's not going to get them all. It's not even going to get most of them, to be honest, because a lot of them don't show signs. But it's going to get a fair amount, and it's going to save lives. And look, same thing for us. I'm sorry for the Ukrainians, but that $60 billion would have more than covered such a facility for the rest of your lifetime. Not even just my lifetime, your lifetime as well. I mean, easily. And think of the number of American lives that could have been spared if we had that kind of a lockup. It's a lockup. It's a prison-esque facility, but it's a mental health facility where, yes, your child is going to be locked up in a room, and we'll have group time just like prisoners do, and we'll have mental health caregivers to medicate and look after them. And it's honestly as much for their sake as it is for ours. I've spoken to these mothers. They want these kids taken. They do not want to be responsible. They can't handle them any more than the prison system can. Anyway, those are my two things. Like, we need good guys with guns, and we need this kind of a facility, and we needed it yesterday. I don't know. I've got like 3 kids who are going to go to college within the next few years, if that's what they choose to do. They're in schools right now. High schools are also dangerous. We don't want to live like this, and we just move on after all of these. Like, oh well, free society. It's all we can do. And I get it. I get the need to do that. I get the urge to do that. But I don't think it's futile. I don't. I think there are real things we can do to lower the number that have nothing to do with confiscating people's guns.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think armed guards would make me feel a lot safer with our schools. I don't have kids in schools, but that would make me feel way safer because we know, you could do a full gun buyback in this country and there would still be guns. So long as there are these mimetic copycat type events that have been happening for 20 years now, deal with it and put armed guards in schools. Absolutely. And on top of that, the institution,
a lot of them.
And the institution point is so important. I mean, it is beyond obvious to everybody that particularly young men are in a mental health crisis. And one of the best prophylactics in that case is having strong civil society and social safety nets and people noticing red flags in their community and doing something. I mean, in so many of these cases, we find out that at least 5, 6 people, even if it was just because of people's online activities, students' online activities, had some suspicion that there was something going deeply wrong, and they felt too weird to say something, or the police dropped the case. The FBI didn't follow up on all of the leads. Like, it happens time and time again. And when you don't have strong families, which again, this is just a reality. We don't have strong families anymore in this country. That is not a given. We have all kinds of people who are struggling and who are on the fringes of society, on the edges, and are clearly showing symptoms of a breakdown. And they're just roaming about. Nobody's helping them because they don't know what to do. There aren't institutions, to your point, Megyn, where they can take people.
Right. We don't know what to do with them. Society doesn't know what to do with them. And I've spoken with therapists before, psychiatrists, psychologists, who say you really can't therapize someone out of sociopathy. Like, if you're a sociopath, you're a sociopath. There's no real treating it. I mean, some people get away with teaching their child who's got sociopathic tendencies, like how to behave, what the proper response is when you hear that someone has died. It's not to laugh. It's to shed a tear or say, I'm sorry, or be stone-faced. They can learn those things. And I've spoken to mothers who have had to do this with their children. But by and large, what these mothers who they're dealing with it at home, they're getting threatened by their kids. The family cat gets killed by the kid and so on. They want these kids out of their house. They're worried about their other children. They're worried about themselves. They understand that this problem, as soon as the child has reached the size of a mature adult, is beyond their capacity to handle. Debbie Murphy tells me that the Brown endowment is $7.2 billion.
Oh my gosh.
$7.2 billion. Get a fucking guard. It's ideological. Get a guard. I'll bet you, I love to take a look at like SMU. And what's the number of armed guards on the campus of SMU versus Brown University? One of, if not the most progressive campus in America, where I'm sure many, many classes are devoted to bashing the Second Amendment and guns. Get a good guy with a gun. Don't be ideologically opposed to it. It literally can save your life. All right, let's keep going. Let's talk about Rob Reiner next, and we'll get to Australia after that. So this shocking crime, this is an American icon. I mean, you're not going to find people much more famous than Rob Reiner, much more accomplished than Rob Reiner, much more wealthy than Rob Reiner, living in one of the most exclusive suburbs in America, Brentwood, which is, of course, where O.J. Simpson killed Nicole Brown Simpson. Brentwood is a beautiful suburb of L.A., and he and his wife, according to reports, had their throats slit and also suffered multiple additional stab wounds, which, of course, suggests crime of passion. It's not a robber. A robber doesn't slit your throat. A robber doesn't kill you, by the way. That's like TV shit that people just use to excuse their murder. It was a robber. No, burglars burgle and get the hell out. And if they meet the homeowner, they run. These are generalizations. So this was, according to the authorities now, the couple's son. They met while they were filming When Harry Met Sally. She was a well-known photographer. People are pointing out she shot the cover of Art of the Deal, Trump's book, of Donald Trump. And she worked on When Harry Met Sally, which Rob Reiner directed. A great movie, by the way, a great movie. And by the way, so another example, like Billy Crystal starred, Meg Ryan too. Billy Crystal's definitely leftist. So is obviously Rob Reiner, he was. That wasn't in When Harry Met Sally. They didn't inject their politics into their movie making like they do with everything today. You know, there was a golden era where no matter what your politics, your movie wouldn't reflect it. You just told a great story. And When Harry Met Sally was a great story. We actually pulled a clip of it. I'll show it just to honor Rob Reiner because it's one of the great films that he made, so many to choose from. Princess Bride, another one. This is Spinal Tap, another one. Misery with Kathy Bates and James Caan, another one. A Few Good Men, my God, like one of the greatest films in American history. But here's one I asked the team for from When Harry Met Sally. It always makes me laugh when they were playing Pictionary with their friends.
It's a monkey. It's a monkey. But monkey see, monkey do. It's an ape. Going ape.
It's a baby.
Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes? You just said it's a baby. How about Planet of the Dopes?
It doesn't look like a baby.
Look at that big mouth. Mick Jagger is a baby.
Baby ape. Baby ape.
Stop with the apes, would you please?
Baby's breath.
Baby. Rosemary's baby's mouth.
Baby.
Won't you come home, Bill Baby?
Baby kiss the baby.
Melancholy baby's mouth.
Baby fish mouth.
Ethel
Baby
Merman.
fish mouth.
15 seconds.
A big baby mouth.
Baby boom.
Baby.
Draw something resembling anything.
Baby,
Baby.
crying baby.
Baby spitting up. Exorcist baby.
Baby. Yes, sir, that's my baby.
No, sir. Don't mean maybe.
That's it. Time's up.
Baby talk.
Baby talk. What's that? That's not a saying.
Oh, but baby fish mouth is sweeping the nation. I hear them talking.
So funny and such a great film. And Rob Reiner was behind it. He directed it, and that's where he and his wife Michelle met. 10-year age difference between them, and went on to have 3 kids. He had 1 adopted daughter as well from his first marriage to Penny Marshall, also known as Laverne, from Laverne and Shirley. And so he had 4 kids, and he had 2 boys with Michelle and a girl. The girl was Romy. The boys were, I think, Jay and Nick. And Nick had serious problems. From the sound of it, his whole life. The reports are that, I think it was Romy. They said his daughter, though, to be honest, it could be the daughter from the first marriage, but I think they said it was Romy, found the bodies. And, I mean, this poor girl walking in and seeing her mom and dad with their throats slit and multiple stab wounds. She reportedly, according to TMZ, was the one who called the police and said, look inside the family. And that's a nice way of saying she turned her brother in, that he was her first suspect. And when you hear this reports, Emily, about the family, you understand why she knew that indeed it was Nick, as the police now say it was. Innocent until proven guilty, but he is in police custody with $4 million bond. He apparently had problems right from the start. And there's an interview on the Daily Mail with the family yoga instructor, which may sound weird that they had a family yoga instructor, but A, Hollywood and big wealth, but B, I think it was because of Nick. So he was apparently like a very tough kid, very tough child. The yoga instructor telling the Daily Mail about how he would scream. He would just come into rooms screaming bloody murder and required endless amounts of attention. And like, if you didn't give it stat, you were going to pay for it. And so she was an attempt by the parents to bring some calm into the child's life, like get him to have a moment of Zen and like connect with like his meditative spiritual side. And do something physically taxing, which also can be good for whether it's a pet or a child. That actually can be good for calmness. And she said it was just very tough with him. And was she the one who wrote the book, Little Nicky? I think she was the one who wrote the book based on him and how a family hires a yoga instructor to help him through it. But it sounds like he never got through it because by age 15, he was addicted to drugs. He was in and out of rehab 17 or 18 times from age 15 to now he's 32. So that's 17 years in and out of rehab over and over and over. And he was so problematic that he and Rob Reiner, his father, made a movie about a father and son where the son is addicted to drugs. It was called Being Charlie. And here is a shot that we pulled from it, a clip, shot 10.
Jesus, Charlie. The fuck are you doing? Hey, Dad. It's great to see you. You know, I decided to stop by. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you want to live your life, huh? Messing things up so that Daddy has to clean up after you? Clean up after? Yeah. If it's not smashing a church window, it's stealing a car. If you're not stealing a car, posting a video. Video? What are you talking about? It's all over the fucking internet. What are you gonna deny that now? Adam. Oh, yeah, sure. Keep blaming other people for your shit. Why can't you just be honest and own something for once?
Honesty, great. I'm really glad you brought that up, Dad. I am, because, I was never a big fan of your pirate movies, but that sociopath you played on the phone with that Utah bullshit, that was spot on.
You left me no choice.
Oh, no choice. You're gonna talk to me about choices?
You've had plenty of fucking choices, Chad.
Yeah, rehab or jail. Quite a wide selection there. You're really gonna do this?
It's really chilling now knowing that Rob and his son Nick were behind it, that they wrote it together. Rob directed it, but there's a clip of him saying, I learned that while I was the most experienced director on that set and most experienced person in movies, I was not more experienced than my son in this world. And that I had to listen to him about certain scenes and so on. It sounds like a very tumultuous relationship, Emily. And just as we came to air, I think it was TMZ again breaking that they had an explosive argument at Conan O'Brien's party on Saturday night, he and his son, to the point where Rob and Michelle left the party, and to the point where, again, the sister knew immediately, according to reports, they needed to call her brother. Your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, it's heart-wrenching it's always heart-wrenching when you see somebody who is kind of left to fend for themselves and people don't know what to do with them. But this is heart-wrenching in a different way when you know, and you can tell from all of the reports piling up now, his parents, his family seem to do absolutely everything that they could to get him help over the years, addressed it at film length, working together at film length to hash out this pain and this suffering, and to know that they tried. I mean, even just that report about Conan O'Brien's party, assuming it was a holiday party or something like that, you have a family, bringing their troubled son to a party. That's, it may sound like a small thing, but when you go through all of that tumult with your own child, it just shows to me, even in that little anecdote, that they were trying so hard to keep him in their lives and to keep him healthy. And so to hear that, it gets you, because clearly they wanted the best for him and they wanted to do everything they could to help. And sometimes you just feel like you run out of options. And it sounds like that's what happened here.
Well, to your point, the TMZ just dropped the following, quoting from the report. Our family sources add, Michelle, that's Rob's wife, had been anguishing to friends over the last few months that she and Rob were at their wits' end over Nick's mental illness and alleged substance abuse issues, and did not know what to do with their son Nick, saying, quote, "We've tried everything." I feel for them so acutely. If you guys have ever had an addict in your family, you know how explosive that issue can be and how difficult a monster it is to conquer. It's so difficult. And then think about the person suffering prior to that and adding in, pre-existing mental illness. Stand by. Apologies. We do have to take a break, and we will absolutely be continuing this talk right after. Don't go away.
Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips too. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone.
You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth! Son, we live in a world that has walls, and those walls have to be guarded by men with guns. Who's gonna do it? You? You, Lieutenant Weinberg? I have a greater responsibility than you can possibly fathom. You weep for Santiago and you curse the Marines. You have that luxury. You have the luxury of not knowing what I know, that Santiago's death, while tragic, probably saved lives, and my existence, while grotesque and incomprehensible to you, saves lives. You don't want the truth because deep down in places you don't talk about at parties, you want me on that wall. You need me on that wall.
I mean, one of the all-time great scenes in American cinematic history. Jack Nicholson and Tom Cruise across from one another with an assist in the background from Kevin Bacon and Demi Moore, arguing over the proper role of our military and whether when they cross ethical lines, we should or would prefer to look the other way. It's one of the many movies where people have had a second look at in modern day America. Emily saying, were we too hard on Colonel Jessup? Like, we might have been manipulated into thinking he was a bad guy when in fact he was a good guy. In any event, you can't argue with the acting and the directing of that American film, A Few Good Men, one of our best. And we're back now with Emily Jashinsky, who is the host of After Party with Emily Jashinsky. Go and subscribe right now. One of the many great Rob Reiner contributions to our national lexicon and one of our most storied industries, the Hollywood movie industry, which no one can do the way we can do. I know it's been very dark lately. It's gone woke and very annoying, but like the history of it is completely magical. It's magical. And many, many hours of most of our lives have been devoted to good times, fostered by films like that one, like Stand By Me and the others that Rob Reiner directed and put out there for us. And it's one of the reasons why so many people are affected by his death today. We were talking about the scourge of drug addiction and mental illness, which often go hand in hand, in this young man who's now been accused of killing Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, his own parents. And updating a detail that I told you about his addiction. The Daily Mail report said that as of 2016, Nick had gone to rehab 18 times, which means he was, I think, 22 in 2016. And that means that in 7 years, he went to rehab 18 times. 7 years. It's more than 3. I can't do the math. Don't make me do the math. It's about 3 times a year. 2 times a year plus. And there's more here from the yoga instructor. It's a very interesting article in the Daily Mail. The headline is Daily Mail exclusive, Troubled Truth About Little Nicky. That's what she called him in her book. And she writes, the piece writes the following about Rob and the son. He had clashes with his family throughout the years, as documented in the film they did together, which portrays a young man who resents the way his father and mother are dealing with his addiction. They force him to spend time in rehab, with their interactions a reflection of how Rob, Michelle, and Nick were with each other, the family said at the time. Evidencing the years of clashes the parents had with their son, it ends with an apology from the dad for the occasionally unsympathetic way he treated his son. Rob Reiner said in an interview afterward that he owed and gave this apology to his son in real life. But Nick's unpredictability and even aggression toward his family seemingly continued. And here's a little bit more from the actual, we played you a clip from the movie played by actors, but here's the actual Nick on camera in an interview with AOL promoting this movie we're discussing, Being Charlie, in 2016, talking about his relationship with Rob. SOT 11.
It really clicked for me because we didn't bond a lot as a kid. Like, he really liked baseball, I liked basketball, and he could watch that with my brother, but baseball. But I just, when I saw him do that, and it was something that I'm interested in, I was like, wow, like, he really knows a lot, and like, it made me feel closer to him and be like, yeah.
You're like, wow, my dad's Rob Reiner.
I never had thought about it, and then...
Yeah, it didn't cross your mind, right?
Never.
Here's a little bit more. This is SOT 12A from the Paul Mercurio podcast, Two Chairs and a Microphone. Again, same thing, 2016.
We both learned what each other went through during that time, but really the thing I took away from it was I got to see him in his element, sort of directing and doing all these things. And when I said that in the past, people would be like, well, weren't you on movie sets before?
Yeah,
but it's different because it's something I wrote, it's my dad, and it's something that we're collaborating on. And I saw he has sometimes a hard time expressing himself through just conversation, but through his efforts.
What do you mean by that? Because it seems like he's very expressive through conversation.
Well, we're on a show right now, but...
Oh, really?
No, but
Yeah, I'm pretty quiet.
He's quieter, but he listens. He's a great dad, and like I just mean that like he's best explaining himself when he's in his element, making a movie, showing how much he cares through that.
There's a lot in there, Emily. You know, you never know what goes on behind closed doors and how people are, and you have a son there frustrated at not being able to effectively communicate with his own father for whatever reason, you know, that his father couldn't express himself in the way the kid needed. I'm not blaming Rob Reiner. We're just taking a look at the relationship here, given what's happened. And so while you might think he's an expressive guy and actually kind of gifted at expressing himself, given the movies, he certainly didn't seem to have a tough time expressing himself politically. It's different with your kid, and certainly different with a kid who is, in a way, special needs.
And it also, I think, represents what we all know, which is that money, you can't throw money at a problem like that, because to go to rehab that many times, you know, that's an extraordinary financial expense for his son. And obviously Rob Reiner had lots and lots of money. The family had lots and lots of money. And so it doesn't make life, it may make life easier in some ways, but it doesn't necessarily make life better. And so when you think about a family here who was trying everything over the course of a decade plus to help their son, including, by the way, doing the emotionally taxing work of directing his film that he wrote about your relationship. I mean, I cannot possibly fathom how difficult it was to do that. In some ways, obviously, they're saying it was rewarding, but that's, you know, days and days spent in the muck of your emotional trauma, your family's suffering, your failings and successes as a parent and a child. I mean, you're putting a lot of effort into dealing with this relationship, and for it to end so tragically and violently is very upsetting.
And it sounds like the parents did not only the rehab thing 18 times in 7 years, but also tough love, because this Daily Mail piece points out that he told People magazine in 2016, I don't know if my math is correct, it's almost 26, and he was 32. He is 32. So 10 years ago, he would have been 22, and 15 to 22 is 7 years. That's where I got. So my math is right, give or take a few months. He told People magazine in 2016, Nick, the son, that he wound up homeless. Okay, again, this is when he was 22. He said, I've been homeless in 3 states because I've repeatedly refused treatment. But he says, I've since been on the mend. I was homeless in Maine. I was homeless in New Jersey. I was homeless in Texas. I spent nights on the street. I spent weeks on the street. It was not fun. If I wanted to do it my way and not go to the programs they were suggesting, then I had to be homeless. In other words, they did tough love. That's what he's saying here, that the parents said, we are not going to fund your life, your apartments, your landlord, your bills until you get help. And honestly, we've been through this in my own family. I've talked before. Like, I've had somebody I really, really love dearly, severely addicted to prescription drugs. And you really do wrestle with, like, what do we do? Do we try to save them? Do we do hard love? And there was a divide in my family over. I mean, I've said it's my sister who's since passed, but you know, my brother and I were much more like, Mom, we have to do hard love. We have to let her hit rock bottom. And it's much different for the parent who, you know, my mom did not want to allow that to happen to my sister. We had no money like the Reiners do, but I can relate to these struggles. And the person you love is in there. They're not dead, you know, like they're alive. They're just like, there's several layers between you and them in like this weird exterior that doesn't represent the true them. And you get angry at these drugs and you blame the drugs. And it's like, you so desperately want the drug addiction to go away because then the person will come out again. Like, it's like an invasion of the body snatcher, you know, like you want the force to be gone so that your relative is back, present again. And you will throw any amount of money, tough love, and what feels like cruelty, whatever at it to get to the end result. But then when it doesn't come, and in this case, it seems like it was constant relapse, you get to the point that they got to, according to that quote we read from TMZ, with a mother saying, we are at our wits' end and we do not know what to do.
And to the point that you mentioned, it looks like the picture that's emerging is that over the years, they have tried both tough love and abundant love. I mean, everything from saying, you know, we have to at some point cut him off so that he knows that you can hit rock bottom, as opposed to what everybody who's dealt with this experiences, where when you do the abundant love approach, sometimes there are limits to that too. But they did it both ways, clearly. That's what we're seeing. And you mentioned this earlier, but what we're learning from this crime scene, obviously, is a stabbing situation. The report horrifically is a throat-slitting situation, and that is, to the point you made, a crime of passion. And so when we're thinking about a person being inside, the real person being inside, I mean, what it has to take to do that to your own parents, reportedly after a heated argument at a party, that is sociopathic. I mean, that's really the only way to look at it, which means that what they were dealing with is unimaginable, and there's no ration, there's no reason, there's nothing you can do in a situation like that that'll definitely work. You just have to keep trying, and the clock ran out on them, unfortunately.
That's exactly right. And the sister, if you see the pictures of Romy, the sister, I guarantee you she knew. And again, reportedly, she was the one who called the cops and said, check out Nick. But you see these pictures of her, and it's just a couple snapshots, but in each one, there's the other brother, I think his name is Jay. He's all smiles. He seems like a genuinely happy person. He projects joy in just his facial expression and energy. In all the pictures of Romy, Jake, in all the pictures of Romy, you can see, at least I think I see in the eyes, like a concern, like a pain. There's the absence of a joy that you see in the other brother's face. And then you see Nick, who looks deeply disturbed in every photo. Mm-hmm. He looks progressively disturbed, progressively more like a criminal, someone who doesn't appear to be taking care of himself, somebody who's not well-groomed, somebody who has got like a madness in his eyes. I realize this is 20/20 hindsight, so forgive the armchair analysis, but it's what I see. And this yoga instructor, again, who taught with the family for a decade, wrote a book about Nick, Little Nicky. She described the Reiner parents as passionate, hands-on parents and loving. She said Michelle was a New Yorker living in California. She was really mindful, trying to raise her kids out of the pressures of LA and Hollywood. It was challenging and full-time. She pointed out that the family was Jewish. They were likely preparing for a family get-together to celebrate the first night of Hanukkah on Sunday before they were killed. She said that the discord she witnessed between Nick and his family, quote, was a product of their fame, quoting from the Daily Mail piece. This is how they quoted her. I think it's really challenging for children of Hollywood stars to have a clear sense of reality. It's really not easy, but it's not an excuse, she said. This is still her. The sense of neglect can breed its own delusion in kids. So she does say that they're hands-on parents and loving, but she also speaks of a sense of neglect breeding a delusion in Hollywood kids and saying that there was a discord as a product of his fame. Again, saying it's not an excuse for what happened, but giving us an insight as to somebody who knew the family well about what one of the issues was. Now, of course, he has 3 other children who are fine, who are fine. It's this one who did this dastardly deed. But it does make you wonder, like, I don't know, you've got a kid who's 15, he's severely addicted. Do you leave Hollywood? Do you give up your directing career? Do you devote your full time to this teenager, this child who you've brought into the world, who is legally and morally your responsibility? Like, do you give up your career directing movies and being the toast of the town to just focus full time on that child and the others who you still have in your home? I don't know. Here's Rob Reiner kind of defending the notion that his son Nick was privileged on that same Paul Mercurio podcast in 2016. Saw 12.
It's not hard to reveal that stuff. It's only hard to reveal that stuff to then get told you're a spoiled white rich kid, and it's like, okay, maybe all these things.
Well, who would say that to you? Not your dad.
No, but the world, Listen, I had to talk to him about this. Listen, I know what it's like to be the son of, and to have people assume certain things about you, and it's very, very difficult.
Well, how did you handle that?
Well, I mean,
obviously you didn't go to drugs, but you must have had those issues. Your father's an icon.
In the 60s, there was plenty of drugs around.
Yeah.
But you just have to know what you do, and that you have to block out all that extraneous noise. And it's hard for him because this is the first time he's, all of a sudden there's a lot of attention. People are talking, and he has the double whammy. He's got me and he got his grandfather, and they're going to say whatever the heck they want, but they don't know. They don't know what he's experienced. They don't know what he's gone through.
Yeah.
They don't know why he's done what he does, and and it's pretty dumb, pretty ignorant of people to say just because you're born and you have money and that doesn't mean anything.
I don't know, Emily. What do you make of all that?
I mean, in all of the clips that you've played of them on this press tour together, the son looks deeply uncomfortable, which is understandable. Nick looks deeply, deeply uncomfortable. And that line from apparently the family yoga instructor in the Daily Mail about struggling to cope with fame. I mean, I was doing the math. He would have been born in the early 90s, probably like 1993. So honestly, that's arguably the height of Rob Reiner's power and fame. And so he's born into that, which is just that time to be a toddler, then to be a teenager. I mean, it had to have been enormously, enormously difficult. And I think that's what they're kind of getting at, is that people look at somebody in that position as privileged and spoiled and all of that, which they are, but that brings with it its own special bag of suffering and difficulties and all of that. And when I saw that first clip that we played from this press tour, he mentioned when the interviewer said, "Your dad's Rob Reiner," sort of like, "Isn't it amazing? You got to learn that your dad is Rob Reiner." He did not seem to find it nearly as amusing as the interviewer kind of set him up to express. It looked like he looks like he was struggling with a lot of resentment. And again, it's armchair quarterbacking, but I feel like it's just jumping off of the screen in those interviews, sadly.
God, it reminded me so much of, it was late last week. You know how you scroll your phone in the morning? I know we're not supposed to, Gary Brecka, but I did it. And this video was fed to me on my Instagram of Presley Gerber, the beautiful son of Cindy Crawford and Randy Gerber. He's a businessman and came up with George Clooney with Casamigos Tequila. And they've got more money than God and very good genes, thanks to Cindy. And they have 2 children, Kaya Gerber, who's a very successful model, and Presley Gerber, her brother, he's the older, who's also a model. And deeply troubled We had seen him in the past, like get a facial tattoo, which by the way is not visible in the video I'm about to show you. Maybe he's had it removed. Maybe that was BS. I don't know, but he had a facial tattoo. It looked like for a while. And he has been in and out of rehab himself, and now is posting, I guess he's clean and sober at the moment, and he's posting something like Mental Health Mondays posts on his Instagram. And he too he's only 26 years old, very young. And I could not believe the level of issues that he espoused of his own in what's like an 8-minute video. We cut it way down just to give you a feel. Watch this, SOT 12B.
Long story short, where I'm at currently, 3 classes of medications. 4. Blood pressure, opiate, benzo, antidepressant, Xanax, when the panic attacks are really, really bad. The Valium, I take a little bit in the morning, or not, I don't know if it's a little or a lot. Antidepressant-wise, mirtazapine, and then I take prazosin, also used to treat night terrors and PTSD, and ketamine drips. I definitely use that more than I should. Sometimes it's not in a clinical setting.
In a way, he's a walking time bomb.
Presley says he is now 5 months alcohol-free and wants to wean off these drugs, but getting help from his doctors hasn't been easy.
Once you start taking them, if you don't take them, the quote-unquote withdrawal from certain medications.
That was a clip from Entertainment Tonight talking about how, he wants to get off of all of this, but he can't. That's what he talks about in that clip. Like, I don't even know how to begin to get off of all these. And he also talks about being in and out of rehab. I think he said 7 or 8 times, and he's only 26. I'm not blaming their fame and wealth. As I just pointed out, I had a sister who was an addict, and we had no money. So it's not, it's not about that. Like, some people do come into the world with a different body chemistry. I really do believe that can lead them down a dark path. Like, the truth is, my sister was never like super happy. I think she was more prone to this type of addiction. She was given the drug as though it was not addictive. And so I just think she was more vulnerable to it. But so that can also be, I don't mean to say, oh, Cindy Crawford sucks and she shouldn't work. But I do also think that, like, no matter how big your life is, if your kid has got this issue, it's all hands on deck, full-time attention, or it doesn't go down a good path.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the hard things, this is almost a tragic irony, is that we were just watching that interview where Rob Reiner talks about, actually, he's one of the few people, if ever there were, because I think a lot of the suffering in cases like this, just listening to Presley Gerber there, is that there are so few people, if you're ultra famous, and maybe some of your suffering or some of your addiction issues stem from trying to cope with the entire world knowing who your mom is, having cameras everywhere, paparazzi sometimes. Like, there's just a psychological stress that has to come with that so few people can understand. And in this case, Rob Reiner, we watched a clip of him talking about how he actually is one of the few people who could have understood possibly what his son was going through, because he was also, as he put it, a son of. And so in this case, that should have been a help, and maybe it was over the years, but I have to imagine so many, I agree. There are people who are just born into the world with a darkness, although I've seen that also be lifted, and I think faith is an enormous help. And Megyn, I don't know if you saw that video that Andrew Colvett posted of Rob Reiner reacting after Charlie was killed and after the memorial service.
Have it.
Oh,
we have it. Hold on, I'll show it. Here it is, SOT 13.
When you first heard about the murder of Charlie Kirk, what was your immediate gut reaction to it?
Well, horror, absolute horror. And I unfortunately saw the video of it, and it's beyond belief what happened to him, and that should never happen to anybody. I don't care what your political beliefs are. That's not acceptable. That's not a solution to solving problems. And I felt like what his wife said at the service, that the memorial they had, was exactly right. And totally, I believe, I'm Jewish, but I believe in the teachings of Jesus, and I believe in doing to others, and I believe in forgiveness. And what she said to me was beautiful, and absolutely, she forgave his assassin, and I think that is admirable.
And the reason I thought of that,
within 3 months he'd be dead.
it liberates you from so much of that pain, to be able to forgive. And obviously, the more we're learning, his son was not able to forgive, and that can happen when you have chemical addiction issues, chemical depression issues, obviously. But I thought seeing that clip, I mean, it just gives you chills. As you said, Megyn, within 3 months, he would be dead. What a classy response. That is Rob Reiner. I think in a nutshell, somebody who was able to muster these very soaring depictions of America, the best, maybe the best who ever did it, even if it's New York City and When Harry Met Sally, if it's a courtroom, like what we just saw. I mean, he was able to do that in such a beautiful way. He played Michael Stivic, one of the great American characters, and the best of Norman Lear, I think, is Michael Stivic, and the relationship between Michael Stivic, Meathead, and Archie Bunker. And so I just think, watching that clip of Rob Reiner saying how moved he was by Erica Kirk being able to forgive, believing in the teachings of Jesus, being able to forgive Charlie's killer, it's a reminder to me of how liberating the difficult act of forgiveness can be, and how burdensome it can be when you're unable to do that.
He also tweeted out, "Until Trump goes to prison, I will no longer be posting on Twitter. I've had it with the insults and put downs. Fuck all of you MAGA assholes." Now, that I only raised that. We've all had nasty tweets. He was particularly nasty in his tweets, and he really hated Trump. And that is not an excuse, but it is an explanation in part for what Trump did this morning, which was no bueno. He posted on Truth Social, "A very sad thing happened last night in Hollywood. Rob Reiner," starts off good. Well, Rob Reiner, a tortured and struggling but once very talented movie director and comedy star, has passed away, together with his wife Michelle, reportedly due to the anger he caused others through his massive, unyielding, and incurable affliction with a mind-crippling disease known as Trump derangement syndrome. Oh, good gracious. Sometimes referred to as TDS. He was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession of President Donald J. Trump, with his obvious paranoia reaching new heights as the Trump administration surpassed all goals and expectations of greatness, and with the golden age of America upon us, perhaps like never before. May Rob and Michelle rest in peace. This is so bad. This is not a good post in any way, shape, or form. And I really wish he hadn't done it, because can I say, the right has been responding totally appropriately to Rob Reiner's murder. I haven't seen anyone offer any sort of the vile contempt for Reiner that we saw the left say about Charlie Kirk after he was killed. Again, not Rob Reiner in response to Charlie, but the left, a lot of them. And then in comes the chief of the Republican Party and the commander-in-chief of the country with that. Not helpful, not the right tone for the moment, not a good example, and really just unfair to just don't do that to a man when he's just died. There's a time. It's much later. It's much later in my view. There are a lot of people say, oh, when you're talking about legacy, you can talk about the bad stuff too. Okay, I get it. But let's not be petty about the suffering. Not only did he die, he died in the most brutal possible fashion with his family completely blowing up. Just a touch of empathy, or just say nothing, even though he hated you and you hated him.
It's perfectly acceptable to say nothing if the alternative is saying that. And I saw a reporter just before we went to air actually posting the responses on Truth Social to Trump's post. And it was a bunch of MAGA people saying this was the wrong move. This was not the move for the moment. And so you have this juxtaposition of basically no mainstream conservative, other than the actual president of the United States, the leader of the Republican Party, in any way, dancing on Rob Reiner's grave. And that might be a hyperbolic way to describe what Trump just did, but he is politicizing it in ways that the right, I think, appropriately criticized people for doing after Charlie died. And it does remind me of that moment at Charlie's funeral because we were talking about forgiveness, where Trump jokingly said, I'm not quite like Erica, because we were talking about Rob Reiner's extension of gratitude for what Erica Kirk said, in agreement with what Erica Kirk said. That is not Donald Trump. It never will be Donald Trump. I think it is, to the extent that he's a sort of moral representative that has always posed problems, and it poses problems now because whether you like Rob Reiner or not, his politics, that post that you read really typified Rob Reiner's approach to politics, kind of a Hollywood liberal who was really had it with MAGA, was looking down on MAGA. But people loved him. People loved him. They remembered him as Meathead, and maybe he turned into a little bit of a reverse Archie Bunker in his later years. But we are accustomed to that as a country, partially because of Rob Reiner helping us work through with the examples.
I don't know. I am praying for his family. This is a hellacious day and the start of the holiday season and Hanukkah, and I cannot imagine what they're going through. My heart goes out. Want to keep going because what happened in Australia is also disturbing. It's that kind of a day, and that is a different kettle of fish. That is an Islamic terror attack, and I'll tell you what happened. If you could make one holiday wish, would you wish to be free from your credit card and other debt? Well, here is why now is the time to make a move. This time of year, credit card and loan companies close out their books. They clean up past due accounts and they sell or write off debt. That means if you have credit card debt and unpaid bills, lenders may be more open to negotiating and settling your account before year end. You may actually have leverage. And Done With Debt knows how to use this to your advantage. They monitor lender trends and understand the year-end pressure on creditors, and they use that timing to negotiate hard on your behalf. Done With Debt goes to work for you month one with one clear goal: to reduce your total debt and leave you with more money every month. Get started now. Chat for free with the Done With Debt specialist at donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. There was a pair of gunmen that targeted a Hanukkah event at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia on Sunday. Our pal Dan Wooten says Bondi Beach is like Times Square. It's like the place you go when you go to Australia, which sadly I've never been. The death toll now stands at 15 with over 40 injured, and the scenes of the shooters and the people running for their lives are unforgettable. Here's some.
¿Qué está pasando? ¿Dónde? Alicia, escucha, Alicia, ¿qué está pasando? ¿Qué está pasando? Pero...
It's so weird because it's, again, on a beach. It just, people are frolicking. You know, you go to the beach, have super fun. Like it's frivolous. And now there's a death threat. Multiple outlets have reported the shooters are father and son, 50-year-old Sajid Akram and his 24-year-old son, Naveed. Sajid was shot dead. Naveed was shot and is in critical condition. Per the BBC, the father came to Australia on a student visa, and he stayed on in the country for decades on different kinds of visas. They were refusing to say what country he came from. Why is that? Why can't we know what country he came from as he shows up to murder Australians with an ISIS flag on his fucking car? Tell us what country he's from. The Prime Minister of Australia is omitting that from the details. His son was born in Australia and thus was Australian. The Daily Telegraph in Australia reporting that the pair had spent a month in the Philippines in the lead up to the massacre, one of the world's top extremist hotspots. And ABC News in Australia is reporting that the son came to the attention of Australia's domestic intelligence agency 6 years ago for potential ties to a Sydney-based Islamic State terror cell, but ultimately they deemed him to not be a threat. That was a fail. Despite all that and Australia's strict, very strict gun laws, the father, Sajid, owned 6 guns registered to his name. During the shooting, a bystander risked his own life to try to stop one of the gunmen. In this video I'm about to play you will see the bystander, now identified as 43-year-old Ahmed Al-Ahmed, a Muslim father of 2, run at the gunman and strip away his gun. Watch.
Oh!
It's incredible. He's trying to wrestle him to the ground. He got his gun. He's got his gun on the shooter. He fires. He's missing. Oh, it's the other guy firing at him. And he does get shot. Ahmed gets shot. And the son stumbles away. The gunman later retreats, you saw the beginning of it there, to the bridge from which the pair were firing, and started firing again at the direction of Al-Ahmed and another man hiding with him behind a tree. When the other man hiding with Al-Ahmed behind the tree starts running away, he was shot. Watch.
En gros, il a récupéré l'arme du mec qui... Tu sais, il l'avait pris dans sa main, là.
Hiding there. One gets up.
Oui, oui, j'ai vu.
Starts running.
Ouais.
And he got shot. Al-Ahmed now recovering in the hospital. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation reports he was shot in the hand and the arm. This is a picture of this man who tried to stop what he saw and without a gun just ran in there and tried to disarm we believe it was the son. He's a local fruit shop owner, but did have experience working in law enforcement. His father told ABC, "My son is a hero. He served in the police. He has the passion to defend people. When he saw people lying on the ground in the blood, quickly his conscience pushed him to attack one of the terrorists." And now, Emily, we're learning a lot more. They say that this went on for minutes and minutes and minutes. We hear sirens throughout the video that we've seen. And you can also hear in some of these videos witnesses shouting, "Where are the cops?" It's more than 4 minutes into the video before incoming shots targeting the attackers strike the bridge. And eyewitnesses to the attack say that 4 armed police officers who were there did not return fire. There is video of one female cop appearing to cower behind a police car instead of shooting at the attackers. Maybe there's more to the story. That bystander didn't seem to feel any fear. And this is from a country that has the world's strictest gun control measures, anywhere. I mean, literally the world's strictest. And yet still, bad men who are on the radar of the police, at least one of them, as being connected with ISIS, then I guess it gets moved off the radar and then they go to the Philippines for a month, become further radicalized. You'd think they'd be at least still on the watch list for flights like that. Come back, put the ISIS flag on their car, have 2 more ISIS flags inside their vehicle reportedly, get out with the 6 guns that the dad had, and shoot 40 people. I mean, how does this happen?
Australia is obviously already talking about guns, but they should consider that whether it's guns, pressure cooker bombs, or cars, we have seen plenty of car attacks in Europe, actually here in the United States. What they're sharing in common here is Islamic militant Islamism. And Rod Dreher had an interesting note on his Substack this morning where he wrote, reportedly, the hero in this case, when you're playing that video, I basically wanted to jump out of my chair and start applauding, is also Muslim. And Dreher wrote, there are Muslims around the world, we should keep in mind, who are also sick of this bullshit militant Islamism. And that's what you see in this case, apparently, with the hero who stops the shooting. But if you're going to talk about guns, There's something so much deeper that political correctness in the West has blinded us to paying attention at the degree. We all know this. I mean, everybody knows this. We've known this for 20 years. The degree to which we need to take these cases seriously. I mean, one of them being on the radar of police and being cleared. I am very curious to hear the various layers of that story and how that ended up happening, because I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that there was a lack of seriousness dedicated to the ideological component.
Yeah.
We see it.
Good
We
point.
see it all the time.
Did you hear the Prime Minister saying, yeah, we've got to look into, radical Islamic violence and right-wing violence too. What? Who says that at this moment? You've got two jihadis, one dead, one in the hospital, who just shot 40 people. And why would you even mention right-wing violence right now? It's politics once again.
It's politics, and then the politics bleeds into the substance, where you end up, for the sake of political correctness, trying to devote as many resources to what's less of a threat. I'm not saying that it's zero threat, but when you have examples like this time and again, I mean, I remember when the car examples, the parade examples first started happening, really in the 2010s. It reminds me of what we're thinking about now, where you're at a beach. I mean, you and I, we're both Americans. I actually don't know. I know a lot of people who conceal carry. I don't know many people who conceal carry at a beach. That is one of the places where you just don't even think. I mean, it's associated with total relaxation and zen. But now you have to. Of course you now have to, just like we've had to start putting up these stanchions during parades, Christmas parades, and to be aware of cars. I mean, it's all rooted. All of these cases over and over again have all been rooted in the same ideological poison of militant Islamism. And to even, gesture at right-wing violence in this case suggests not just a posturing, but also something that's going to happen in the substance of law enforcement in Australia, which, again, we've seen happening for years now, too.
I mean, it's amazing me because Australia does not F around when it comes to immigration.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to immigrate into Australia. It's next to impossible to illegally immigrate into Australia. But there has been a growing cry there, as here, as in Europe, from people whose families have been there for generations saying, what are we doing? Who are we letting in here? Why are we actively changing our culture and our country by assimilating or trying to let in people who will not assimilate, who don't share our values, who don't share our cultures, and who wind up posing a threat to us? I mean, it's not so long and it still exists in many cultures and many communities. You're not allowed to ask that question. Now, can we ask that question? Can we ask it in Australia? Can we ask it here? It's like here we're seeing massive fraud in the Midwest with our money, which we've also seen jihad in America domestically.
In Minnesota.
But
in Minnesota.
In Minnesota. But this is one of the most stark examples we've seen as of late. They don't normally tack on the ISIS flag and make super clear exactly what they're doing.
Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar can't even admit, as other Somalis have done, by the way, that there may be a cultural component, indeed that there is a cultural component to the fraud cases. They can't even admit the fraud could stem from cultural reasons of assimilating a population, by the way, that has, according to UNICEF, a 99% rate of female genital mutilation into the upper Midwest. They can't even admit that there could be a cultural component to welfare fraud, let alone imagine getting them to admit then that there would be something rooted in a religion where, by the way, it's not politically correct to say, but the prophet was a warlord. Assimilating that into Western democracies, they can't even admit if the fraud is coming from it. So let alone dedicating the necessary resources to, actually stopping potential militant Islamic extremism. You can see what a problem we have on our hands when the refugee politicization, the political correctness of refugee resettlement prevents people from even having a conversation about assimilation and fraud. I mean, there are a lot of people in this country. There are millions of people who came over the border during the Biden administration, some of whom were economic migrants, some of whom were genuine asylum seekers, some of whom actually want to do this country harm, many of whom actually want to do this country harm. We have no idea where they are. The Trump administration now has to dig the country out of that hole. So good luck to all of us, because the door has been open for the last 4 years.
Yeah, it's, and of course we're getting dealt blow after blow in the courts as Trump tries to get the ones who are here who have committed additional crimes out, like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who just got released yet again by an Obama-appointed judge. She's dying for this guy to stay here. MS-13, accused gang member, accused serial wife abuser, accused trafficker of humans. They're dying for him to stay here, Obama-appointed judges. Except because they're judges, make a nice living, they may have security, they actually won't be the ones to die. It's going to be the people in lower income communities who get killed by these illegals, like a Jocelyn Nungare, the 12-year-old killed by those two illegals who sexually assaulted her and then threw her off a bridge. The most bizarre take on this has got to go to Chuck Schumer, who wanted to address both the mass shooting at Brown University and that in Australia. And I'm not sure why, but handled it this way. SOT 9.
And of course, I'm going to say a few words about the terrible shooting in Sydney, Australia. Okay? So, and first, of course, as I always say, no matter what, go Bills. They beat the Patriots today. It's a big deal.
I got nothing.
What?
I got nothing. That's a life. That is a career politician. How dumb do you? How bad do you have to be at your career to say that?
It's amazing. Like, if that had been Trump, that'd be headline news everywhere. Trump's Truth Social was definitely insensitive. No question. We covered that. So was this. What is that? I don't care if you like the bill. Who gives a shit about the bills when you, as a lawmaker who has real responsibility for keeping people safe, are supposed to be speaking to teenagers dead at Brown University and kids from 10 all the way up to adults of 87, including a Holocaust survivor, dead at the hands of ISIS extremists while sunning themselves on a beach in one of our closest allies? Like, what the fuck? Who goes with Go Bills?
He represents one of the most Jewish, dense Jewish populations in the world. And on top of that, Rhode Island is not that far from New York, and there is a suspect who is not in detention. There's somebody who is, actually, there's a perpetrator. I shouldn't say suspect. There's a perpetrator. There's somebody who committed this crime, a violent murderer who is on the loose in New England. So on so many levels, that was just the worst possible response from Chuck Schumer. You know his staff is behind the cameras just absolutely cringing. He also doesn't care about the bills. I'm sorry, Chuck Schumer doesn't care about the bills outside of politics. So that kind of makes it even worse. It's like he's trying to posture as like manly New York bro and can't even do that right.
All right, but his is not the worst response. Speaking of politicians, the worst response has to go to Chris Murphy. And this is about Brown University, which he tried to blame on Trump. Watch this.
Not shocking, because over the last year, President Trump has been engaged in a dizzying campaign to increase violence in this country. He is restoring gun rights to felons and people who have lost their ability to buy guns. He eliminated the White House Office of Gun Violence Protection, and he has stopped funding mental health grants and community anti-gun violence grants that Republicans and Democrats supported in that 2022 bill. So he has been engaged in a pretty deliberate campaign to try to make violence more likely in this country.
That is unhinged.
You're right. That's worse.
The gall. Right? We used to have like some standards where we wouldn't do that shit. Like unless you had clear evidence, the guy was like, I got my gun thanks to Donald Trump doing X. You would never say that as a journalist, never mind a senator, a sitting U.S. senator. Caution to the wind. It's Trump's fault.
And by the way, I mean, I know you mentioned this earlier in the show. We are being careful about drawing any political conclusions from the fact that one of the students who was killed, shot in the face reportedly, was the vice president of the College Republicans chapter. But that caution should have extended for obvious reasons. I mean, this is one of the reasons you don't politicize in the early hours of a shooting like this, because it could turn out, in fact, that this was from a leftist with political motivations. Again, one of the many reasons why Chris Murphy should probably have stuffed his politicization back into the recesses of his brain where it belonged on a Sunday morning show in the middle of a tragedy when the killer is still on the loose. It's just a completely crazy thing to do.
with really no pushback from CNN,
Right.
like Dana Bash, like, okay. As a Western Lensman, who I follow on Twitter, put it, Dana Bash provides an assist for this garbage rhetoric. I'm not offended. No problem. Yeah, sounds about right. What a day, Emily. I don't know what to make of it. You know, it's like you have to touch grass. You have to hug your kids.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe have an eggnog. You know, you can't get too wrapped up in the darkness because it can really affect you, right? It's like, this is one of those days, like it just snowed over the weekend in the Northeast. You got to go outside, walk in the snow-covered streets and take deep breaths into your lungs and thank God that you're alive and hopefully your family is alive and well. And try not to focus too much on these tragedies. When you have a series of them, it can really get you down, but it's a wonderful time of the year. You know, like the Christmas carols and the Christmas lights and the snow coming and Santa. Like, there's so much to feel good about. It's just, you know, we got to do the news. And today, man, what a whopper.
I was inspired to drink eggnog by you and Doug on Friday. So thank you for that. It was such a gift. I was like, oh, it's eggnog
Good.
season.
Did you add the nutmeg? That makes a nice difference.
Wonderful. It's and that's like what they do at a lot of restaurants if you order the eggnog too, so it feels extra professional. But you know, it's
Yes.
another reminder. It did feel like MK True Crime Day here, but and Doug was right. Like Dateline is what today's show felt like because of the news. But
Yeah.
it's another reminder that forgiveness really does set you free. And that example Erica Kirk set in her speech at the memorial, that can be so liberating if you're feeling like you're going into a dark place. Just remembering, going to scripture, learning about forgiveness and how powerful it can be. It can make us all so much healthier to follow that example.
Amen. Speaking of Erica Kirk, there is big news. She's having a one-on-one meeting today with Candace Owens. I will have a lot more to say about that tomorrow. There's a tease for you. In the meantime, Emily's coming up at 2 p.m. with the Megyn Kelly wrap-up show. Go call in to talk with her about all today's news at 833-44-MEGAN. That's 833-446-3496. Back tomorrow with Ruthless. See you then.